Every restructuring answers one question. How will the organization work? Who reports to whom? Who owns what? How decisions get made. Those questions usually get answered. But there's another question almost every restructuring leaves unanswered. Where do I fit now? That's the question that creates structural resistance. Not because people hate change, because they're trying to understand where they belong in the system you're creating. Every time I hear someone say, people are resisting the restructuring, I think we're asking the wrong question. Most people aren't trying to stop the transformation. They're trying to understand where they fit inside it. Because every restructuring changes more than an organization chart. It changes influence, relationships, decision-making. Sometimes it changes who feels like they matter. Today, I want to show you what structural resistance is really trying to tell you and why it appears during change, and how recognizing it early can prevent it from becoming something much harder to overcome. I'm Tina Code, founder of Change Decoded. I've spent my career helping leaders navigate technology transformations, acquisitions, organizational change, and periods of significant growth. Throughout those experiences, I've had the opportunity to experience some change efforts as a strategist and some as a transformation leader and a sponsor. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is this: leading change and sponsoring change, those are two very different experiences. As a strategist, you can recommend the path forward. As the leader or sponsor, you're the one carrying the accountability if it succeeds or if it fails. That's a very different kind of pressure. And it's changed the way I think about resistance. Organizations don't transform. The people do. Every response to change is a signal. Resistance? It's actually not the problem. It's the source of information. And that's the foundation of the resistance decoder. Today's signal is structural resistance. The resistance that says, this changes my place in the system. And the leadership response is recognize. Because before people can move confidently into the future, they need to understand where they fit inside it. When you're sponsoring a transformation, your attention naturally goes to execution. It goes to the budgets, the timelines, the risk, the governance, all of the dependencies, and you're trying to make sure that transformation succeeds. Meanwhile, everyone else is sitting around asking a completely different question. Where do I fit? Leaders are thinking about organizational success. Employees, they are thinking about personal significance. Both are valid. But if we only communicate one side of that equation, structural resistance becomes almost inevitable. Structural resistance isn't really about structure, which is funny because I'm the one who named it that. It's about what the structure is changing. Every restructuring changes reporting relationships, decision rights, responsibilities, influence, connections. And those changes naturally cause people to ask, will I still matter? Will my experience still be valued? Will my team still exist? Will I even still have influence? That's not politics. That's not negativity. That's people trying to understand their place in the new system. Imagine your organization announces a new operating model. Let's go with regional teams becoming centralized. Decision-making moves into a shared service model. There's new governance, new reporting relationships. Leadership celebrates the new design. Employees, they start asking questions. Who approves this now? Who owns this decision? What happens to my team? Leadership often concludes they're resisting. Maybe. Or maybe they're trying to answer a much more important question. What happens to me? Yesterday, they were the decision makers. Today, they're one voice at a table. Yesterday, they owned the budget. Today, someone else comes in and has to approve it. Yesterday, they led the conversation, and now they're just expected to support someone else's. That's more than an organizational change. That is a shift in identity. The best way I can describe this restructuring, it feels like musical chairs. Leaders think they're redesigning an organization chart, but employees, they're experiencing that fun musical chairs game. They're wondering, do I still have a seat? Is it the same seat? Who decides where I sit? Honestly, do I even still belong here? Until those questions are answered, people naturally hold on to what they already know. Not because they're against progress, because uncertainty makes people protect what's familiar. Structural resistance rarely announces itself. It usually shows up disguised as process. There's one more approval that needs to happen. There's a new committee that has just been created, another stakeholder review. There's requests coming in for more analysis work to be done. On the surface, those all sound reasonable and trying to help build alignment, and sometimes they are, but sometimes they're buying time, not because people are trying to stop the transformation, because they're trying to still understand what the transformation means for them. This is why the leadership response is recognize, not reassure, but actually recognize. Recognize what the structure changed for that person. It likely changed their influence, their relationships, and the connections they need to build. It probably changed their responsibilities, and it very likely had an impact to their confidence and their sense of contribution. Don't immediately jump into, oh, everything will be fine, don't worry. First, acknowledge what changed. Recognition doesn't mean changing the strategy. It means acknowledging the human experience inside the strategy. And when leaders do that, people become much more willing to move forward. Structural resistance doesn't stay structural resistance forever. If people never understand where they fit, they begin protecting their territory. Departments and teams become silos. Turf wars start happening. Approvals slow down. Collaboration declines significantly. And decision-making becomes fragmented. The conversation changes from where do I belong to stay out of my area. That's our responsibility. We've always done it this way. Same person, different signal. The next time someone tries slowing down your transformation, don't immediately ask, why are they resisting? Instead, ask, what changed for them? Because structural resistance usually isn't saying, I don't want this organization to succeed. It's saying, I'm still trying to understand where I fit in the future you're creating. And those are two very different conversations. Every restructuring changes an organization, but you need to keep in mind, it also changes people. It changes their role, it changes their influence, and likely, probably more importantly, it changes their identity. And the leaders who navigate change most successfully understand they're not just redesigning work. They're helping people find their place inside a new system. Because structural resistance isn't the enemy. It's a source of information. It's telling you someone is still trying to answer one question. Where do I fit now? As leaders, that's a question we have the responsibility to help answer. If this video was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe and download the free Change Agent Toolkit using the link below. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever been through a restructuring where no one really knew where they fit? What did the leadership do to help you? Or what did they do that made it harder? Until next time, resistance is information. Every response to change is a signal. Our job as a leader is to decode the message, and I'm here to help. Let's decode change together and lead change inside and out.